Ladies and gents, welcome to Six Figs. I'm Kyle, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about Dfinity's Internet Computer, everything from Dominic Williams in the UAE down to the charts. I've got a very special treat for you guys. We are going to bring in the one and only, folks, William Laurent here, and we're going to be showcasing one of his incredible Dfinity Internet Computer sound music videos that you did, which absolutely killed it, to say the least, man. So thanks for stopping by. First and foremost, what's new with you?
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure. I was thinking today, I learn more from like 5 minutes of your videos or just talking to you for 5 or 10 minutes before we tape a segment than I do like being on one of the top crypto Twitter spaces for like 2 hours. So thanks again for having me.
Oh, dude, thank you for the kind words. I sincerely appreciate that. You might have heard by now that Dominic Williams, let me back this thing up because I always like to emphasize Dominic Williams. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Dominic Williams was in the UAE at COP28. They launched the verifiable recycling credits exchange with major business partners. And for those of you that don't know what COP28 is, it is a UN climate summit, and there's a lot of big players from a lot of different countries that attend this thing. So when you're seeing stuff like this, William, what are your first thoughts that come to mind?
Well, my first thoughts is, isn't it amazing that Dom is going around the world and meeting with these world leaders, and he's really delivering the goods. Look, you've had some amazing contracts signed with governments lately that are building things on the ICP blockchain. You had Federal Italy that's going to use supply chain management functionality to actually track the manufacturing of goods and make sure that those goods were authentically created in Italy. You have projects like this that are sustainable projects which are coming onto ICP. And I've always said, money goes where it's appreciated. Data also goes where it's appreciated. And all the data, and there's going to be huge data for a project like this, that data is going to go on ICP where it's much cheaper to store it and much more efficient.
That is true. And for those of you watching that don't know how much it costs to store a gig on the IC for a year, it's $5. Not bad. So
I was going to answer that $5. So
you were okay.
That was my answer. I was at $4.98. What I was going to say.
Okay. Williams dialed into the ecosystem. So yeah, this is very interesting to say the least. Verifiable recycling credits, which might be kind of like carbon credits in a way, something like that. It's going to be interesting to see where this relationship goes. Now, Will dropped an absolute stone cold stunner on all of us mortals here in the crypto verse, and we're just going to let this thing run for a second. It's a minute long. You guys got to check this out.
Every block you make and every token that you stake, every dial you bake, we are wide awake on the world computer. Oh, can't you see? We love ICP. Go jump and lay with your Solana brain. Every block you make, we love ICP. Every block you make, we love ICP.
Wow. So, William, how the heck did you come up with this? Because I've listened to this song at least 5 or 6 times. You've got an incredible voice, some incredible musical talents. I know that you've done a lot of stuff with some wizards of music in the past. So, like, that all shows to me in this video how, you were just able to get this creative flow going.
Yeah, I played all those instruments myself. The song is based on a song by the Police, Every Breath You Take. I doubt I'll get sued for it. But yeah, I played all the instruments, came up with the arrangements. I used minimal auto tune on that. So initially I recorded it with no auto tune. I was like, this sounds pretty good. There were a couple places where I just couldn't stand the sound of my voice where I did use auto tune. So I did cheat slightly, but hopefully next time I'll just nail it with no auto tune. But yeah, it took a long, even that minute
Mhm.
took forever. And I would
Yeah.
love to do a 3-minute video with solos and all that, but people don't have the attention spans and just not worth it right now. But
Okay.
thank you so much. I
Yeah.
have some other things coming. Next piece is an original piece, which maybe we'll preview that on your show as well.
Hey, I'm all game for that, dude. We got another thing out of a tweet, an absolute stunner out of Dfinity. We're thrilled to announce that ckETH is now live. Explore trustless multi-chain Web3 with ICP and discover smooth interactions with ETH. See how you can interact with it. So this is an interesting thing. We are seeing that people are using ckETH. When I checked it the other day, it was at like 24, 25 ckETH. So that has more than doubled in the past like couple of days. So people are starting to kind of trust this a little bit more, just like they are with like Bitcoin. So you can see that in the last 7 days, people are using Bitcoin like crazy, or ckBTC, excuse me. But the ETH, it's starting to pick up. We got over 1,000 ckETH transactions, over 287 ckETH in volume. So being a couple days old, actually 2 days old, that's significant. So what are your thoughts on ckETH? Have you used it? What do you think it's going to bring to the table? Things like that.
It's so huge. So from a personal perspective, I'm not a Bitcoin guy. I am an ETH person, right? So I've sold NFTs, my own art on the ERC on the ERC20 blockchain. Huge. As you see NFT market heating up, this is going to be a much bigger story and get much more usage. Also, you're familiar with the new ERC 6551 standard, right? Where NFTs could actually contain other NFTs, right? So it
Mhm.
could be like a wrapper around in-game assets. That is going to absolutely be huge. And as Ethereum gets more functionality and more dimensions, I think, of possible gamification, you're going to see Ethereum take off. And when people realize, hey, it's much cheaper to transact Ethereum using ICP as like a virtual layer 2 blockchain, you're going to see just the floodgates open to
Yeah.
ICP.
Yeah, I agree. That's going to be an intense moment in time once that realization hits. And I think that there is going to be a huge breakdown in possibly frustration of collecting gas fees and things like that for simple transactions peer to peer, at least, because, hey, if somebody came to me and said, hey, I'll take a ckETH, whatever. Oh, perfect. I'll send you some ckETH that's going to cost me a penny versus like
Right.
10, 15, $20. And it's going to hit like that. You're not going to have any high transaction fees. It's going to be a quick transaction. It's not going to be any failed transactions, which cost you
Right.
money. I love Ethereum and everything it stands for. It's got like the most incredible ecosystem and user base in the world. The one thing I don't like is those dang gas fees. And
Well, think about this, Kyle.
gonna be crazy.
Right now, I think the average gas fee is between like $8 and $10. I've seen them as low as 4. I've seen them maybe as high as 15. They've all been in that range. But when the NFT market heats up and you see some very high-profile mints and big mints happening, those gas fees could hit $100 again. Hey, maybe
Yeah.
not, but I have a feeling I'm not going to be proved wrong.
Yeah. No, for sure. I've paid a couple $100 in gas fees on Ethereum before. Especially, I had made an investment in the Badass Bulls project on Ethereum, and that thing like 1,000x'd over a week. And I remember I was like, I'm selling this thing, right? And I ended up paying like a couple $100 gas fee, which, I think I was like maybe couple thousand in profit. So I'm like, okay, not that big of a deal, but it still bugged me. So
In a
yeah, that's
hyperbolic
information.
market, it's not a big deal, but right now it is, right?
That's
So,
true. That's very
yeah,
true. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how ckETH impacts. To be honest with you, I think ckETH is going to have a bigger impact than ckBTC
I
in
agree.
the grand
I agree.
scheme of things. So,
Yep, I agree.
markets are looking bonkers. Bonk is at 36%. I do know that ICP is kind of neutral. We're flat with ICP 3.1% on the day, 10% on the week, 23% on the month, 17. So it's just been kind of flat. But one thing that I have been talking about as far as the markets are concerned is that on the weekly chart, and I've spoke about this Ichimoku cloud and things like that. We can see that right now ICP is the highest it's ever been above the 50 moving average on the weekly chart ever. So this is an incredible feat, to say the least. And we are about to make history possibly on the weekly chart if we can get price action above $5.60 by
Mhm.
like February 5th. So I'm hoping to see ICP kind of just spring up here to like $7.10 and get above this Ichimoku cloud. Because once we start getting above this Ichimoku cloud, I'm going to use Bitcoin as a prime example, and we'll talk about this in a second too, how Bitcoin is breaking bearish patterns. But on the weekly chart, people can see once price action gets above the cloud, boom, off to the races. Once it gets above the cloud, guess what, folks? It's off to the races. And this isn't financial or trading advice. We are just looking at previous historical movements within the Bitcoin ecosystem. And this gets me bullish. I thought we were going to see Bitcoin break down, and I was charting this rising wedge. And I think that Bitcoin could break down when a bull cross hits, our golden cross hits on the weekly chart here, maybe within the next week. Right now, price action too far away from the Ichimoku cloud, in my opinion. Price needs to trade sideways a little bit, but to see Bitcoin breaking bearish patterns, big time bearish patterns, is absolutely bullish in my opinion. When we look at like ICP too on these charts, this is on the daily. We are seeing ICP really hug this Ichimoku cloud, excuse me. So it's kind of just hugging this Ichimoku cloud, and it almost looks like there is some sort of rising wedge pattern here. The good thing is it's not a very big one, but it is there, and that is a bearish sign. So on the daily chart, I think that we're going to see ICP maybe trade sideways to this 50 moving average here around like January before it really makes its next run up. Of course, folks, this is all very speculative and not financial advice. So I know William Laurent is the ICP whale of the ecosystem.
Yeah, right. I wish. Look, I'm
What
going
are
to
your
add
thoughts
this.
on this?
I'm going to add this, not only for ICP, but for the market in general, and especially for Bitcoin, is that we're looking at these technical indicators. We're seeing bullish patterns here. Let's look at the bullish patterns also that are non-technical. That we saw Jamie Dimon yesterday saying if he was in the SEC, he would basically regulate crypto out of business into oblivion. Thank God he's not. And he's talking about all the money laundering that's going through crypto, which is 1% of the money laundering that goes through the normal banking system, including
Right.
his banks, right? So really pissed me off. But even with all this FUD out there that's coming from the titans of the banking industry, you see that companies like Fidelity, companies like State Street, all these big financial firms are building out their trading desks for digital assets. So that's not going to stop. So that's great. Like I'm looking at these technical indicators too, but I'm also looking at what's going on in the real world.
Yeah.
And it's bullish.
Yeah, I hear you there. And it's interesting because I had something very similar to what you just described over Thanksgiving. I had a family member that was kind of talking about when CZ getting into all this trouble. and stuff like that. And I said, well, how many Wall Street execs, how many banking execs, how many hedge firm execs are sitting in prison right now? 100 times more than any crypto execs or anything like that. So
How many more should be sitting in prison? That's my
hey,
question.
that is a great point, to say the least. But folks, I think what we are going to do right now is wrap things up. So I need you guys to follow William Laurent 3 at William Laurent 3 on Twitter, folks. Show him some love. He is dropping some serious alpha, risking getting arrested by the Japanese Tokyo police, which, hey, I was out there and they are not to be messed with, but he's
They don't play
dropping like
around, man.
crazy stuff. Like, you guys got to check
Yeah.
him out. So much love to William. Also, like, subscribe. This helps the channel grow. It helps us reach these algos. If you like this, leave a comment as well. So Will, any parting words for all of us mortals in the cryptoverse?
Stay safe out there. I have a Twitter space that runs every Tuesday at 7 p.m. East Coast time. That's New York or Miami time. Feel free to join if you have something that you're building in crypto. I don't care what the ecosystem is. Please send me a message, come up on stage, talk about it. We're an inclusive program. We have people from all blockchains.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, folks. Well, thanks, Will, for joining us. I truly appreciate your time. It's been a great show. I feel like we covered a lot of ground. Can't wait to have you on next week. We've got some really cool stuff going on with DSO. I don't know if you want to share anything about that, but we are going to be having some someone that's very well known within the DSO ecosystem showing up for a recording. So stick around for that. That's going to be super bullish. Other than that, see you guys all in the next video.
Every dollar you beg